Zenigata is overseeing an excavation led by Professor Yang. They discover paintings of the four symbols, with the main interest being the blue dragon. A large pearl is embedded into it, which Lupin and Jigen, posing as the team's camera crew, take for themselves. Grabbing the professor, they make their escape. Zenigata pursues, getting help from a car patrol, but Lupin keeps up the pace. Spotting a train below them, Lupin speeds up and drives off the edge of the road. He just barely manages to clear the train at a crossing, leaving the police high and dry. The pearl is apparently a means of finding an ancient golden city according to the professor, though 2 more are needed. As they discuss their next move, a submarine surfaces, captained by the gangster Chin Yo-rei. He takes the pearl, the professor and Fujiko and leaves the gang tied up. To make sure they don't follow, he fires up on the gang's boat, though Lupin dives overboard before it's destroyed, swimming to land as best he can. Already in possession of the second pearl, Chin interrogates the professor on the City of Gold's location. His boss, the Singapore crime lord Taizen, knows that it's somewhere in the Gobi Desert, but needs an exact location. With no choice, the professor tells him that they need to find the final pearl in a Tibetan temple. The pearl is embedded in a statue of Shiva deep inside, so Taizen sends a team of men led by a Lee to find it. The temple is laden with traps, causing the number of active soldiers to dwindle. On top of that, Lupin knocks out one for a disguise of his own. Eventually it's down to him and Lee, who are stuck outrunning a rolling rock. By sheer luck, this leads them straight to the Shiva statue. Lupin grabs the pearl, evading one last trap, and makes himself known before Lee. Lupin emerges, disguised as Lee with the pearl. He then grabs the other 2 and unmasks. Chin isn't able to make a move as the others surface. They then grab Fujiko and the professor and escape. The key to the city is said to be a lake in the desert, but all they see is sand. With no clues, they bunker down for the night. Next morning, Lupin wakes up to discover that there is indeed a lake. Swimming out, he discovers a Buddha statue with 3 holes for the pearls. Putting them in causes the statue to surface and open a doorway. Before the rest of the gang can follow, they're jumped by Chin and Taizen. Lupin discovers a large doorway that opens to the Golden City itself. As he looks around, he discovers an even larger pearl. The professor appears, revealing its value is so high that whoever owns it controls the world's wealth. Turns out he was working with Taizen the whole time. With the rest of the gang hostage, Lupin's forced to surrender for now. Taizen then tries to claim the pearl for himself, but the professor refuses to give it up. Meanwhile, Lupin's on the run from Chin's attacks. He ends up bumping into Taizen and the professor, causing them to drop the pearl. This causes the city to start collapsing around them. Lupin frees the others and they run for it. Unfortunately, Lupin's knocked back down to the city where Chin's waiting. Chin proves tough to take down and the water from the lake is flooding the city. Thankfully, the gang arrive with Taizen's helicopter, grabbing Lupin as the city disappears back under the sand. Unfortunately for Fujiko, Lupin wasn't able to grab any gold before they escaped. Fun trek across Asia for the sake of a treasure hunt here. Quite reminiscent of Indiana Jones, or possibly even the film serials that inspired Indiana Jones. Between this, the movie and episode 15, it seems like the gang go on quite a few treasure hunts in the desert in this era. At least this one ended up being the genuine article, even if Lupin missed his chance to grab any as evidence. The gang infiltrate a building, making their way to the safe. Goemon covers up the door so Lupin can work on cracking it. Inside is a huge pile of diamonds. As they load up, smoke starts gushing from the pile. They then catch fire, alerting security and forcing the gang to run. Goemon takes out one of the auto turrets, but there's more than one to deal with. Getting surrounded by turrets, they jump through a window. One of the diamonds escaped immolation, so Lupin inspects it as Jigen notes diamond prices are up. Lupin tosses it Goemon's way, spurning him to cut it. It cuts clean, confirming Lupin's suspicion that they were fakes. Zenigata meets with Cecil Rose, the owner of the diamonds, and questions him on why they caught fire like that, with Cecil telling him they're made of carbon, same as coal. Zenigata ponders the motive, thinking that maybe the diamonds were set alight on purpose to artificially inflate the price. Likely correct given Rose's expression. Revealing his real identity to the audience, he plants a bug as he leaves, but bumps into the real deal at the door. He dives out the window again, but there's no water under that one. Lucky for him, Jigen and Goemon arrive to save him. Zenigata does his own investigation and also questions the diamond arson. He discovers the bug and wrecks it, warning that Lupin will come for Rose. Suspicion arises against Fujiko as Lupin suspects she's working with Rose, but she denies it. She has learned that Rose plans to transport the real diamonds elsewhere by disguising them as coal. For extra insurance, Rose hires a killer, Gagny, to take out Lupin. The gang keep an eye on the transports, learning that one is set to break off from the convoy. They follow the break-off and pull up in front of it. The driver proves too scared to take on the gang and runs. Unfortunately for the gang, they've been duped again, as the coal is just that. Gagny then appears with a team to take them out. The gang flee, but Gagny is in pursuit. Doesn't help much, as while they hit Lupin's car, the debris keeps taking his own men out. Eventually, Gagny's gunfire manages to hit an overhead boulder, crushing Lupin's car. The gang of course survived, and overhear Gagny mention they're off to Arabia, figuring that's where they're selling the diamonds. Lupin disguises as the buyer and meets with Rose. He pours his alcohol flask into the diamond crate, claiming it's a ritual of sorts. The gang present the money, but then the real buyers fall out of the plane. The gang unmask and Lupin tosses Rose his flask. It was filled with gasoline, which Lupin threatens to ignite if he doesn't get the diamonds. Zenigata then arrives, causing everyone to scatter. The gang have too much weight to carry, so they're forced to dump the money cases. They still can't carry the diamonds off, largely because Rose won't give them up. Unfortunately, while Lupin calls Rose out, his cigarette falls into the diamonds, setting them alight. They find an oasis to dunk the crate in, but most of the diamonds are ash by that point. At least one's intact, but Lupin's forced to fight Fujiko for it. I wonder if it's possible to be high stake and low stake at the same time. High in that there's a lot of money from the diamonds, low in that it's a pretty small time crew the gang are going up against in comparison to some. Surprised Lupin wasn't aware of diamonds burning like coal, but maybe he was faking it to out Rose as pulling one over on him. Plus, much of a fan of him as he might be, Lupin might not have seen Superman 3 yet. The gang are checking out the Beirut branch of the Swiss bank. Security seems light until it comes under strike from guerrilla forces. The bank seals off and then starts moving using tank treads. Back at their hideout, Lupin shows off a scale model, which Goemon has trouble cutting as the bank is made of a special alloy. Lupin's confident he'll find a way in despite this. Zenigata visits to warn the manager Banco about Lupin. Despite Zenigata's jumpiness, Banco's confident as no one's broken in yet. They have a high-tech computer that works around the clock to keep everything secure and up to date. Zenigata's dismissed and given pocket tissues as a souvenir. The tissues are laced with the chloroform, and he passes out as Lupin arrives. Lupin makes a deposit, intentionally coming up short. He offers up a crumpled final bill to complete the transaction. The bill then catches fire, which ends up confusing the computer's calculation. Banco tries to determine what's wrong, contacting maintenance. Jigen's hijacked the line and claims they'll send someone over. Lupin switches outfits to a technician and meets with Banco. Banco takes Lupin to the main safe to check things out. The computer allows for Banco as well as one guest, to which Lupin gives his real name. Before Banco can say anything, Lupin knocks him out and is given 5 minutes to inspect the safe. Fujiko joins Lupin, keeping watch outside the safe. The additional weight of the money proves a problem as it locks Lupin from escaping. As a solution, he fills the money bag with helium and passes it along, with the computer none the wiser. Jigen and Goemon wait outside, but another guerrilla attack begins. This also has the side effect of waking Zenigata, who rushes in the bank as it seals up. The bank starts moving, forcing Goemon to cut the transport freeze so they can follow. Time ticks down for Lupin's 5-minute limit in the safe. Zenigata spots him and races past the security into the safe. He's too focused on keeping hold of Lupin and the clock hits 0. As the bank continues to find a safe spot, a landmine knocks one of the treads off balance. Fujiko tries to reopen the safe, but not even Banco knows how the computer works entirely. The computer gives Lupin and Zenigata 3 minutes before it fries them with a laser. With nothing to do, Lupin offers Zenigata one last smoke. The computer extinguishes the cigarettes, causing Lupin to realise they're in a room with flammable material. He sets up some piles of money and then sprays them with a flammable liquid. The computer becomes confused between using the laser or putting out the fire. Meanwhile, outside, Jigen fires a rocket at the weakened treads. Goemon then slices at them, causing the bank to fall off. With everything that's happened, the computer releases all locks on the bank, allowing Lupin to escape. The gang drive off, lamenting they're lost out, but Lupin cheers them up by announcing his plan to make interest off his deposit. Wouldn't be a Lupin the Third series without him going up against some kind of advanced computer technology in at least one episode. As is often the case, the computer proved too logical and didn't account for Lupin's spontaneous nature. The gang may not have got the loot, but Lupin did outwit the tech, as he usually does. A man named Taniyama has acquired a Chinese antique. While on display, Fujiko checks things out and gets some photos. As the antique is being ready to be shipped to Japan following this, Zenigata arrives on the scene. His fears are dismissed, but an explosion rocks the waterfront. Goemon appears and cuts the transport crate loose. Zenigata realises Lupin's underwater, who intercepts the crate. Inside is a Matryoshka of crates. He works his way through to a final lockbox as Goemon keeps everyone distracted. Taniyama then warns Goemon to head to Lupin, noting that someone called Seiryu will handle him. Lupin joins Jigen, who's keeping watch on someone. That someone is Seiryu, who launches an attack at them. Goemon arrives, recognising and engaging him. The fight is cut short by Zenigata's arrival, but Seiryu warns that the antique they have is fake. Taniyama chastises Seiryu for not finishing off the gang, but also offers to find his family's killers. Unaware to Seiryu, Taniyama himself led the attack on them. Taniyama's next event goes ahead, with a magic show for the audience. Outside, Goemon knocks out the security to secure an escape route. He and Seiryu once studied at the same temple, but evidently drifted in different paths. The magic show is of course led by a disguised Lupin, who uses powder in the butterflies he summons to send everyone to sleep. He then grabs the antique, but it's on a pressure pad, activating the internal security. Zenigata arrives to gloat, but so does Goemon. Lupin tosses the antique to Goemon, who escapes by hang glider. Goemon's glider is soon cut apart, but he lands on some string. Seiryu set it up, wanting to end things here. Meanwhile, Lupin fakes a stomachache as he and Fujiko are led away. Zenigata kicks him to get him to shut up, and a smoke bomb activates. Seiryu has the upper hand on Goemon as Taniyama keeps watch. Lupin and Fujiko head to the roof, but Jigen's late with the escape chopper. Badly injured, Goemon ends up falling from the string, landing in a pool. Seiryu returns the treasure to Taniyama, but Goemon mentions that Taniyama killed his family. Seiryu laughs it off, but Taniyama has him shot. Taniyama gloats before having his men open fire on them both. Seiryu blocks Goemon from the bullets as one last act. Jigen then arrives just in time to bail Goemon out. Lupin and Fujiko are out of ammo. Jigen arrives to airlift them to safety. Later, Taniyama smiles to himself over everything, but then spots Goemon in the road. Goemon responds by slicing his car in half and blowing it up. Worth noting that Taniyama is another of Junpei Takiguchi's characters. Sometimes the one-off nature of Series 3 is a bit of a detriment, as there's honestly potential for Goemon and Seiryu's history here. Anyone who's able to get Goemon on the ropes is a character I'd like to see more of. Just too bad he gets killed off in the episode. Ending was a bit abrupt too, but certainly cathartic after everything that happened. Next time, a hunt for eggs, Goemon haunted, and a search for a ring brings us to episode 28. Until then,